Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, with one of the top Zerg players in the world in the red. We have SHIN, facing off against the youngest professional player from Korea, and in my opinion the most underrated, the Terran in blue. It's Percival, in a best-of-3 Terran versus Zerg semi-finals to Wardy's Monday night tournament. And before we get started, it'd be incredible, at least pretty good, if you'd smash that like button, maybe even subscribe. And we counted the algorithm, and Jimmy, what are we at? 1,888 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better, as the Zerglings will engage the Reaper will engage the Zerglings. One of them has a gun, one of them runs relatively slowly. It goes exactly how you might expect, but the expectation is for the Zerglings to delay just enough for the drones to not beat the target, and they will succeed in doing so, at least until the Queen comes out. Bit of a spiteful grenade thrown, the Reaper will take its leave, and the Queens will have to leave it alone for now. Zergling speed is on the way, but back at home, Percival has already expanded. He's got 2 barracks in production. He's going to be rushing towards medevacs. As well, I guess historically accurately, and lore accurately, a bunch of dudes with drugs and guns are a very effective way to deal with any sort of native infestation. It's been called in the past by those who will not be looked kindly on in the future. But the Reaper, taking a look around, looking notably at the severe lack of hatcheries. The simple fact that SHIN has not even attempted to take a 3rd hatch is already suspicious in and of itself. And for good reason, as that potential money is being invested in a lair quite early on in the main base. The Reaper might be able to get in and spot at the Queens, trying to discourage the Reaper from any further activities. A drone slips out, and 2 more gases on the way. And it seems very likely that mutas are on the agenda. As Mutalisks, a bit more microbial. They didn't get any direct buffs in the hot fixes or newest patch, but between their arc slop changes and their targeting changes, they're slightly more reliable at being something to at least combine in to keep pressure on the Terran. Now, unfortunately for SHIN, though, the best defense against mutas is a good offense. And Percival has kind of made his name, little known name, but increasingly so, off of finding the best timings. All right, he's putting the eye in Terran, and he's using the terrain. And instead of just playing on the map, he's using it to his benefit on a regular basis. And that's how he's been able to punch above his weight class and continue to kind of level up to the point that he's now one of the top 5 Terrans? Maybe 4. No, 5. There's a pretty solid list of 4. It's Clem, Maru, Beyond Cure, and then it's a rotating door on that. But I think Percival, well, he drops out of the bottom of the medevac doors, and the Marines are stimming forward. And there's no Baneling nest done. It just completed. There's no drones at this base, and he gets supply block, losing an Overlord right off the bat. The Marines are stimming, and the Zerglings are trying to close the distance. There's no +1 upgrades. The Queen's targeting one of the medevacs, but that means the Marines are firing at all the Zerglings. And the Queens are enough, maybe with a trickle of Zerglings, to push this back. But we have to ask ourselves that question. Have you liked and subscribed? And at what cost? 41 Zerglings and an Overlord. He gets 1 medevac. But I think Percival can do basic math, I assume. Feels like kind of a slight prerequisite for this game. I mean, he's not Protoss, so. But, Jimmy. 3rd command center's on the way. Percival, I think, recognizing that this is very likely to be either mutas or some other sort of lair tech rush. But there's no reason to stay at home and defend when you can defend by keeping those mutas back at home. As the Widow mines, there's just no drones here. That's already suspicious. The hatchery taking a lot of fire. The Widow mine, bit of Prairie Dog micro, slams into a muta. Medevac will be taken out. Target fires another muta out of the sky. And the Marines standing their ground as long as they can. The Medevac healing right up until it couldn't heal itself, which is A bit ironic and even more sad. But the Marines will eventually be hunted down and ripped to shreds, I say. But 3 mutas. SHIN comes in with the Overseer, stalls production with the Contaminate on the Widowmine, stalls production on the 3rd Command Center with the killing of the SCV. It was a little simpler, but... So, 2 small wins as he slows down Percival's economic progress. Though, SHIN had barely any drones. And by barely any, he was in the 40s on the other side. So, we've got... hello? Nope, 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 nope. Oh, going for a drone strike strategy, but that's not exactly... The rally point, not ideal there. So Percival ends up getting 2 drones, despite not killing a single one on the other side. Gonna take down the rocks. The mutas realize that they can fly right above them, but it was probably really stressful for at least a moment there. The medevac's stuck at home. He's got the turrets up. And Percival now boxed in just a bit, as the mutas are not a game-ending threat, but they can certainly make things difficult if he moves out with his units too early. And, like, if he stays, it could be trouble. But if he goes, that trouble could at least be twice as much. Double even. So, should he stay or should he go is really the question that he has to answer. And I think without the upgrades, and especially without drilling claws on the Widow Mines, just trying to box out the mutas is up. Or just allowing SHIN. Okay. SHIN gonna try diplomacy by offering up yet more drones. Which I don't even think 5 drones lost to a bad rally point. It's because it was 2 different times. That's emotional damage right there. Just intangible. But also very painful at the same time. Wow. Well, that's going to slow SHIN's economy. And at some point, I think needs to slow down just a bit. Take stock of the situation as Percival is building up his production. He's got missile turrets coming together in the main. He just finished the armory. So SHIN's greatest advantage is actually kind of somewhat oddly his upgrades, as he's going to have +2 Carapace around the time Percival finishes +1 infantry armor. And Percival hasn't even started. He just started +2 infantry weapons, so he's not going to have that massive upgrade advantage that Terrans sometimes enjoy against a mass muta player. At least not yet. But SHIN does not have an infestation pit, which means a hive is a long way off. Just trying to make sure he has enough units to engage directly. And speaking of Widow Mines, sneaking forward with a few units, picks off 1 mine, goes for a second, and there's just not enough Marines here. +1 flyer attack is done, +2 Carapace on the ground. Reinforcements stimming up. Just a little bit too slow. And a few more Marines picked off. Those mutas hunting in packs, and the Marines definitely not solo creatures. Widow Mine takes a big bite on the way out. The damage adding up. But Percival down 20 supply, as SHIN has put everything into increasing the mutas. Zerglings. He has 80 drones now, but he's... I don't want to say stuck, but I don't want to not say stuck. So I'm just going to allude to saying stuck on mutas, as he needs to either get something done or... Well, no. He needs to get something done with the Mutiling Bane. He needs to either crush an army or smash a base. Because the longer he's... There it is again. Stuck on the Mutiling Bane, the easier and more effective the Marines, the Marauders, and the Mines are going to be. Drilling Claw's now done. 2-2 upgrades. Plenty of Zerglings. Might be able to chase down this army, and Percival picks up, gets out. Medevac swinging around again. +2 flyer attack begins. Percival working on the 2-2 and getting close to 200 supply. So there's really no reason to stay back against this sort of composition in that case. Meanwhile, Marines pick up. They'll expect some of us in the wreckage, brothers. That was just poor planning. Meanwhile, 4 medevacs worth of units to the north, 2 in the main. And he'll spot that this is indeed not a lair. There's an infestation pit nearby. but the pickups again will leave some behind. Stimming forward, hatchery 2/3 HP, taking some more damage, but the banelings falling back. Widowmine, decent damage, but diffuses the situation relatively cleanly. Medevacs taken out of the sky by the mutas, and suddenly SHIN, he clears the field, he knocks out the drops, he's adding more hatcheries, but, well, the hive has yet to begin. 5 more mutas in production. Percival's just throwing ghosts into the composition, because ghosts, believe it or not, just pretty good in general. And, well, the Widowmine's gonna get some big hits, trying to draw the shots. Overseer drags a shot over the top of the Marines and Marauders. The Muta's gonna try to complement that situation, but they get some strong insults from the Terran in turn. So, the hive has yet to begin. Percival laying the pressure on. Those changelings actually boxing in. And another wave of Banes, but the hatchery will be obliterated by the Marauders. A beautiful spread. I can't believe it's not butter out of Percival. The Banelings are evaporating, and not in a fun way. They're all gone before the Marines can be engaged directly, but there's so many mutas overhead. Without another wave of Banes, the mutas can't actually fight, but thankfully, the Banelings are right there, and even more joining up. A few more mutas taken down. The hive begins. Overseers dragging the shots in, and the Widowmines don't discriminate. If you're not a Widowmine, they will kill you. The ghosts show up, line up their shots, knock out the mutas, and then regret all their decisions. Take it out in turn. More Medevacs taken down. Knocks a couple more mutas out of the sky. And, well, ghosts. I feel like Percival is one of the only Terrans who's acknowledged the fact that the ghosts are just better fighting units. Sure, they have less HP, but they have more base damage as opposed to more damage against light. So, with +3 attack, they 2-shot Lings and Banes. I don't know the math on mutas, but it can't be too far off. And Snipe can no longer be interrupted. And only 2 supply. All these things. So they have a little less HP. Snipe does cost more energy, and that is noticeable. But the base damage increase makes them better in general against most targets, especially the ones they were pretty weak against before. So Percival just mixing him into the composition. Though, I will agree that maybe against mass muta showing up with a couple ghosts is not the ideal proposition. We've got +3 Carapace on the way, and also I talked about +3, and it specifically is +3 infantry weapons because the damage per upgrade multiplier on the ghost was increased. Before, it was +1 and then +1 bonus, and now it's just a flat +2, which is why that math works out. And if you're not inclined to do it yourself, well, just trust me, bro. Oh, believe me, I know the math on that. But the Widowmines, not so friendly fire, doing most of it. That's a lot of Banelings. Diffuses another mine, but wait, there's more. The mutas off to the right side. Percival still hasn't started 3/3 upgrades. Meanwhile, SHIN has started an Ultralus Cavern. But he hasn't started Adrenal Glands because it is SHIN we're talking about. Allergic to that upgrade. Just kind of forgets it exists. Meanwhile, fighting in the middle of the map, he will beat the Marines. Oh, and most importantly, Percival looking the other way. And when he looks back, there's nothing to look for. The Marines and ghosts are taken out. The Medevac's forced to pull back, and SHIN destroys 4 ghosts, 28 Marines. He only loses 4 mutas. Percival also kills a Marine. But at this stage, I would say he's trading out the mutas, but he's actually building more mutas. He's trading his mutas in for new, fresh mutas who haven't been scarred by the emotional and physical demands and trauma of war over the last, like, 8 minutes. But, you know, they say it ages you quickly. Which is why it's so important that Percival is the youngest. How's the back pain? 3 more command centers on the way. Already 8 orbital commands. Percival embracing the new Terran. 300 minerals per command center. What a steal. Meanwhile, the mutas fly right past the ghosts and another clutch of units. But wait, there's more. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to fly as Percival knocks half the flock out of the sky. And now the end of this army may very well be nigh as the Widowmines, they're burrowed one by one. And the line goes absolutely too deep for him to even think about engaging. Ugh. Those command centers finishing up, trying to drag out some of the Widowmine hits. And the shots mutually assured destruction. But the Medevacs will heal up the survivors, and Percival definitely comes out ahead both in supply and in general. The only thing is he hasn't started those upgrades. Or +3 armor at least. But +3 infantry weapons is closing in. 5 ultralists on the way. The ghosts stand their ground and gun everything else down. They're building up energy. He doesn't have Ghost Cloak. He's proud of his ghosts. He wants to show them to everyone. And show them he does. The Medivacs? Okay, the ghosts on their own. He's knocking... Well, he's going for the Overseers. Everyone dies. 11 drones dead. I don't even know how that happened. Was there a Liberator somewhere? One Liberator died. I'm assuming that was what did the drone damage. As it's the only thing that kind of makes sense in this sort of scenario. 81 workers apiece. And we're no closer to finding a conclusion to this game. 8 orbital commands, 2 planetary fortresses, 3 raw command centers just waiting to be something more for a nominal fee. And a fusion core on the way. And still very notably, no +3 armor. No +3 armor for Percival. No adrenal glands for SHIN. But 40% attack speed on the unit you've already lost 350 of. And are probably going to build at least 350 more. Is not that important, is it? The Ultralists going to try to jam themselves into a corner. Which, the command centers themselves, forcing them to brawl through an alleyway here. The Banelings will obliterate the SCVs. The Mutas will swing in. The Marauders on the back line. The Planetary is holding. But for how long and at what cost? More ghosts coming up. Reinforcements. A bloody exchange. But SHIN, I think coming out... Well, that's a lot of gas. He lost a lot of gas. Percival. Hey. Sarge, we got a problem. Stop I'm non-commissioned officer. There's some Zerg over there. You know how little that narrows it down? Anyway, just the high ground. High, all right. SHIN supply blocked off losing Overseers. 11 dead so far, and again, that won't be the end of it. The Marines and Marauders gets caught up on a single Widow Mine. Another Ultra goes down. One survives, and, well, does he have... He doesn't have high-sec auto-tracking. He doesn't have building armor. But he does have plenty of ghosts, and he just keeps adding them in. This sort of kind of fluid... Beautiful words. Composition. Some Corruptors from SHIN. Meanwhile, still no adrenal glands. He's now lost 377 Zerglings. The Ultra count just continually being refilled. Target firing the Queen. Well, I mean, there weren't any other targets, but it sounds nice to say it. Venn diagram of freedom over here. The Liberators will be taking out the SCVs on the run. Though Percival's kind of at the point he doesn't need too many more than 50 at this stage. The Zerglings just swarming the field. A few lucky Marines will be picked up. Many more, not so lucky. Meanwhile, Ultra, no match for the Marines and Marauders. But SHIN is holding across the board. He's trying to reset it somewhat. Percival down 40 supply. And there's just so much. He's cleared out the command centers. He's cut down the army. The Banelings are rolling in. And Percival retreating with absolutely everyone. Abandon your posts, flee! Flee for your lives! As SHIN just cuts down the base, forces the full retreat, and Percival is down to just 10 orbital commands. The Ghost will casually light up some shots and pop some Ultras, pick up and get out. What is left in the air? 6 Corruptors. There's 143 unadrenal Zerglings. Unglanded Zerglings. Ugh. Let's not say that, is it? It could be something more. He's going to try a drop, it looks like. Drops... Well, Percival drops the command center to the north. The Zerglings will become very, very clearly aware of it. And now he's dropping under 50 SCVs, which is a precarious position. We see the Mule Mountains being carved out of the income gap. Another stable is dropped. The army supply swinging back and forth, but Percival not Adrenal gland! Wow. So he knows it exists. It's just he didn't realize until... Well, both players struggling with some key upgrades. Percival still doesn't have the building upgrades, which could be such a critical part of all this. But here, well, SHIN has loaded up into the Dropper Lords. And he's going for the main base. He's got the main army. There's no adrenal glands. 151 Zerglings on the field. Goes down the center. Trying to distract from the main. Either of these could do deadly damage. Retreats back. The Ghosts. The Baneling's not able to close in. The Widowmine's keeping him busy for now. The base is completely overrun. But the main, a couple Overlords were taken out before they could drop. The Widowmine's taking out some of the Banelings. And the Liberators will be picked off by the Corruptors, but not particularly quickly. Percival, he's bleeding out on all sides. He's down to 29 SCVs. The main base will lift another command center. And SHIN is overtaking the field. 4 Infestors on the way. He's going for the finishing move. Adrenal glands about to complete. The Ghost lining things up. And a single Baneling, a couple Ghosts ripped apart. Still no cloak. The Widowmine's taking big bites. Oh, huge bites even. As they get another couple dozen Zerglings. But SHIN can replace them. Percival, he still has some money in the bank. But his production, his SCVs, everything is under attack. Another Ghost Academy. I believe the first one was taken down, and SHIN will dismantle the second. He's killed 2 Ghost Academies, actually. But the Mules will drop. The last hope, the stimulus check. The Infestors are here. He goes for it. A fungal, but the Ghosts on the back line. SHIN has gutted Percival, but he's not dead yet, as the Mules have brought him back to even on income. The Liberators are still forcing an awkward engagement. This will be taken out. He had 1 round of mule mining. There's still a few mineral patches that Percival is very willing to mine. Loses another orbital command, and this one could be taken out as well. SHIN, well, the heartbeat of the income continues to... The orbital command will be taken out. There's not enough Corruptors to reliably deal with the Liberators and the Medevacs simultaneously. This base is holding. The Infestors are added. But SHIN is... Okay, Percival has nearly as many SCVs as we would have started with a couple months ago. 13 SCVs remain against 74 drones. Percival has 116 army supply. He's mining with everything he can put together on these last few mineral patches. SHIN just has to stop him. SHIN has a 2,400 income per minute lead. He's got the center bases. The scans across the board. There are still 7 orbital commands, but that number... starting to dwindle. He's going to micro back. Where are the Infestors? On the other side of the map. The Widowmines are recharging. Got to be a little careful about that. But the Liberators will siege up yet again. Another orbital command falls. SHIN still holding. Percival is 1 mediocre fight away from total disaster. The Ghosts. Oh no, the EMPs, but he loses all 3 Ghosts. This hatchery, well, there's not enough Banelings. There's 1 more Infestor somewhere. More Zerglings coming in. The Corruptors fighting. The Widowmine's all targeted on the Corruptors. Very intentionally so, but it may cut more Widowmines at the back. More Widowmines at the back. More Widowmines at the back, and oh no! Oh, he's only got a Congress of Corruptors. That's it! There's no more Zerglings! It's a disaster! Percival tearing through absolutely everything else. There's an Infestor sliding through, burrowed and hoping that, upon hope, there's no more scans. The Widowmines will fire again! There's no detection! Oh, the Zerganity! Oh, he's in deep SHIN now. 69 drones. He has 50 Zerglings. He cannot fight this. You can't fight Liberators with 50 Zerglings. There's still a dozen Widowmines. This Widowmine has 68 kills! What the fuck? Even if they were only Zerglings. I don't want to... What's the math on that? It's not done yet, by the way. It could keep going. Everything on the ground is pretty much dead. The Corruptors, though, so low in number that... the Ghosts... There's more Ghosts. He's running off to the side. There's a single Infestor with full energy. But... Okay. Well, the Corruptors... A single Fungal, but he just kills the Banelings, because that is an option. The Widowmine, if he retargets onto the Corruptors, he doesn't. The Infestor will burrow. Oh, my. Oh. Oh, sweet mother of mercy. One Widowmine to rule them all, and from the darkness, 68 kills. 50 kills! 118 kills between two Widowmines. Oh, not so Widow anymore. They're now graduating to medium-large mines. Yes, I know. When I get excited, I don't enunciate as well as I could. And when Shin gets excited, he doesn't pay attention to his ground units as well as he should. But uh-oh. It's a disaster. Really? Cloak? Now? After all of that? It'd be less offensive if he built a nuclear missile. After all of this, now we're going Cloak for the Ghosts. Both these two clearly strained. The Widowmine gets another kill. They trade out. I love that. He does that little shell game. He trades a mine that is off cooldown for the one that is. And he still has another shot there. And through all the fire, there's a burrowed drone. Oh, there's that one Infestor. The Cyril Fester. The one that pops out when you least expect it. In order to get the fungal. He's right on top of it. Which is not good, actually. You can't unburrow on top of the army. That's how bad things... Oh, he just scans. He loses the Infestor. And I think he just lost the entire game. Oh, no. Well... Did Percival, I mean. As... Well, wait! The Ghosts were picked up into the medevacs. And shit... Oh, no. Oh... There's still... The army is 17 Widowmines, and also there are other units, but... Let's see. 50 kills, 68 kills. Some of them survived for most of the game. Some of them not so much. But 118 kills between those Widowmines. Absolutely disgusting. I would be shell-shocked if a single unit from Shin had over 10. Well... Percival, in Percival fashion, survives. He just embraces the new era of Terran. Shin just... It's alright, we've all been there. Had issues finishing, but he couldn't close it out. You gotta close. But killing a Terran who understands the value of good civic engineering, who understands the value of bleeding you of your detection while having effectively map hacks with a 450 mineral-only building. Those two are the same thing, actually. How convenient, but... You can't let up for a second. And Percival, literally, if those mules drop and mine even a single wave. Well, not like Shin didn't make mistakes. Let's make no mistake there. Unlike Shin, as we established, but literally feeding 5 drones over the course of 2 different rally point issues. Getting stuck on mutas for so long. But, and now, how do you deal with that? Well, the actual answer at some stage is usually Broodlords. Yes. Broodlords are kind of a niche unit because of how good ghosts are against them. Like, what unit aren't ghosts good against? And that's not important. But in a situation where the Terran is very limited on economy and most of their army is Widow Mines with a few ghosts, that's and your army is Corruptors and almost nothing else, you gotta make your Spire great again. Alright? But that SHIN just never quite reached that situation. And that's the real day. Like that, it adds up over time. The Widow Mines killing your detection. The Ghosts. It's Overseer. I'm talking about Overseers, obviously. Losing 15, 20 Overseers over the course of the game. It was 11 when we checked at like the 15-minute mark, so I'm going to assume it was at least 20. That is 1,000 gas. That is half of an entire gas geyser just building Overseers. Which certainly adds up. Oh, Percival. He plays that infuriating style of Terran. But clearly, effectively. And you can tell, like, he doesn't have the pinpoint micro of Clem. And the decision made, well, SHIN successfully caught him multiple times. When he was able to set up the multi-pronged attacks, Percival crumbled. Like, literally, as Banelings crashed into his army. But that is SHIN's experience meeting with Percival's inconsistency. But as the game dragged on, and the unit compositions became more and more advanced and costly, it gets harder and harder to pull that off with Zerg. 3 CCs, and then 3 barracks as Percival. He's got a need for greed. So we're going to change tax entirely. I don't know how many of you out there, I'd actually like to hear, have heard of Patch's Patch. Now this is a little confusing. There's a community member, a map maker, and a Masters GM player, all the same person named Patches. All right. In fact, Washout in the map pool is his map, has made a community patch that now has a $5,000 tournament. I'm not sure if it's his sponsorship or anything, but it's actually a super interesting 12 workers start. That's the least interesting part. Infested Terrans, 1 supply roaches. You could salvage tech labs, and Reapers get late game grenades, as well as a whole bunch of other changes. Nukes land twice as quickly. For Protoss, honestly, there's a lot. You could Chrono. Oh yeah, Mules mine gas, and you could Chrono boost assimilators. Zerg also gets some economic. It's almost every unit and mechanic is changed in some way, which is way too much, by the way. It's way too much. It's not even close to balanced, though I'm not sure for who. But the point is it's made and maintained by people who actually play the game. So that makes it unique to the official patch itself. So there's so many changes. I've been debating how to actually cast it, because otherwise I'm just going to sit there and read a bunch of patch notes for something no one's ever played or seen. And by no one, I mean besides you people who commented who say they like it. Or don't like it, I guess, if you have an opinion. But I think we're just going to go in cold turkey, because there are players like Beyond and Raynor have been playing, so I've been playing a bit. It's a lot of fun and actively updated and maintained. And that's the benefit of having a community run sort of thing, which I feel like we kind of needed to do a long time ago, but for various reasons that I've explained in the past, we don't have. But I'm looking forward to mixing some of that in. So that's your warning / anticipation of Patch's Patch. Yes, his name is Patches. It's after the Marine from Carbot, I believe. you know, Patches and Crackhead, the two Marines from Carbot. You know the lore. And if you don't, you can just stop right now and go watch the entirety of every season of StarCrafts. I'll wait. And welcome back. Did you cry? I did. I did. Percival. Speaking of Marines bravely sacrificing themselves, it's a bunch of Marines. 1-1 upgrades, combat shield stim, SHIN supply block. He's got 8 Banes on the way, though. It's all coming together, but maybe a little bit too little, a little bit too late. He tries to get the Zerglings in place. The Reaper grenade certainly complicates things. And the Queens? Do you feel like you're helping, Brenda? We were. Our existence is helping. Well, if that makes you feel better, it does. If we weren't here, he would have kept microing. We don't need to put ourselves directly in front of the bullets every time. Or maybe less Zerglings would have died. Why can't you just look at the upside of life? Because so many of us lost it in the last game. How do you even know that? How do you remember that? I don't know. What are we doing here? Are we the same as we were last game? Are any of us the same when we wake up at a new hatchery? Are we an entirely different person just mimicking that old being? Not today, Lucille. Am I, Lucille? I don't... Sorry. Spire. Nearly complete. The Marines added in with the medevacs, and SHIN is already at 72 drones. Which, Percival not too far behind, but the fact he's got 4 bases and a macro hatch on the way, and this is a mid-game Spire as opposed to a Spire rush, I think puts him in a pretty comfortable... Good target fire out of Percival. Pretty comfortable spot. Corruptors. No, he canceled the Corruptors and Mutas. It was just a misplay. Does he put the siege tanks on the high ground? Which would be a great idea right up until... Right up until the mutas show up, but there's also some very, very annoying terrain blockers here. He does have the Overlord, but you actually have to get the units through in order to get vision on the other side, especially once the Overlord is pushed away. But mutas, of course, preclude that whole idea. Zergling counterattack. Man, well, Muta's combining with the Lings and Banes. And SHIN with a victory across the board. He clears up the army. Gonna sweep several medevacs out of the sky. He delays the 4th command center. And the Widow Mines will burrow. He does have Drilling Claws, which cuts into a lot of this. The Banelings. Oh, another Widow Mine. Well, this is not as decisive a victory as maybe SHIN hoped for. It went from a resounding one to a bit more Pyrrhic. He loses 80 Zerglings. He still gets 2 siege tanks, 3 medevac. It's still a win for SHIN. Does he have an infestation pit? No. It's not even started. That's the biggest concern. Is still stuck on the mutas. A Widowmine drop of bruised Widowmines is on the way, but still very capable of doing terrible, terrible damage to a Widowmine. Burrows down. Oh my. Gets a Muta, 7 drones. There's no detection here. Overseer flapping its way through, but another army off to the right. And Percival just slapped a 4th... His 4th command center is an orbital command. Which is good to have more orbitals. But, of course, not having a planetary makes it a much more easily attacked location. Widowmine's cleaned up by SHIN. 91 drones! And just now started the infestation pit. Another Muta. Knocked out of the sky. Concussive shells on the way. This time around, Percival not being stingy with the 3-3 upgrades. Instead, starts them pretty much immediately. And Muta's boxed out by the Marines. Over to the left side. More command centers on the way. Banelings killed in the cocoon. You get your money back, but not for the Zergling. You get 3/4 back because it cancels one more thing, not reset. So, Widow Mine, more mutas. Dealing with the mines, but he doesn't have flyer attack yet, making it a little more difficult. Another big hit. The Marines stimming past. The creep spread. That meant not right. Not terrible, but could be better. Certainly. Can always be better. Unless you have 100% of the map covered in creep, in which case the Terran's floating in the corner, I would assume, if they're still in the game. The Marauders. SHIN, try not to use the Banelings against them. It's creating quite a kerfuffle, though. Will be cleaned up. Percival looking the other way, but wait, there's more reinforcements. Another Widowmine drags out the shot. Little Prairie Dog micro, throws another one in, doesn't quite get it in time. Picks up. But wait, there's more! Round 3! These Widowmines gonna hit home. The medevac taken out. Percival chased all the way across the map. He's down to 135 supply. SHIN is nearly maxed. And the Banelings continue to roll through. Trying to move command to get the most value out of them. Trapped in a prison of their own design, those SCVs. He opens up the depots and will lose every single one of the SCVs. But he makes SHIN work a little harder for it. Who's at 98 drones. Percival down to 56 SCVs. He's got 3-3 done. The hive just fit. Let's see it. SHIN? Well, he doesn't have the gas for it at the moment. Right? Planetary Fortress over to the right side. Attempted, not completed. More command centers all over the place here. A bit optimistic at this stage. He had a lot higher supply when he started them. We all look into the future hoping for something better, but the Banelings making sure there's no future for many of the SCVs. Widow mines scattered all over the place. Banelings getting closer to accidentally taking down the destructible tower. Still no adrenal glands. Ultraless cavern. Percival just takes down the rocks, but the mutas! The mules! Oh, the mules with the mass repair. He's just targeting the SCVs. It's going to be very costly for both sides. Wait, he's mostly just killed mules. This is actually going very badly. SHIN, stop this. Stop this now. Stop this now, SHIN. SHIN! 7 mutas. Oh my. 9 mutas. Because he got hit by some widow mines on the way out. He dug too deep and too greedily. And that's 9 mutas too many. Okay, maybe 2 or 3, but when it becomes clear that he's not taking out the missile turret. Oh, the widow mine. Oh, I love that micro. So he unburrowed just 1, and that stacked the Zerglings up to get an even juicier chunk. And that's how you get a 68 kill widow mine right there. Racking up another few dozen. The entire minefield pretty much effective. 17 kill mine off to the side. Got to keep an eye on them now, which is relatively hard to do. Not because they're burrowed, but because they're so small. And because they're burrowed. And because they disgust me. That's unrelated. The orange upgrades, though, for SHIN. Coming together. He's still got 93 drones. Alright, He has been untouched economically for quite a while. Just keeps tilting towards him. You have to kill Percival, which is an increasingly difficult thing. He's got a command center lifted. I feel like half of that is to obscure the widow mine, so that way... Because it's almost impossible to react if you don't see the line at the very start. Especially now with the quicker firing time. But all the goodies are finishing. Percival does have building armor and high-sec auto-tracking. He's got 3-3 infantry weapons. +2 flyer attack is done as well, but SHIN is muta count running thin. And he's fighting into fully upgraded missile turrets. Which is an amusing thing. Percival's army supply, now 119, which is higher than SHIN can even get without some extractor trickery or spore crawlers or whatever. 133 army supply for Percival. The Marines and medevacs moving forward with the mines to back them up, of course. Picks up again. Letting the mines get the biggest possible hits. Another set of Widow Mines protects from the Banelings. The command center under fire. Another Widow Mine slams home. We've still got the one at the back. 17 kills. Another shot. He's got the Overseers to clean a lot of this up. More mines will burrow. Another one will fire. Make that 2. And this one around the corner. Racking up some more. The Zerglings, the Planetary. But I think with building armor, I don't think he actually... Yeah, this is... Ooh. There are 6 orbital commands. SHIN is running a severe risk of the same sort of situation as last game, where he just kind of ends up without enough. Percival's taken significantly larger hits, but there are 3 bases over here. Plenty of minerals to mine. He's actually got a lot of gas in the bank, so that's not a real concern. SHIN is mining for most of his side of things. Targets the base. More SCV's dead, but I feel like that just increases Percival's power level as he leans further and further into the mules. He only has 6 orbitals, which sounds pretty good, but it isn't quite that overwhelming level. Widow Mines taking the bites again. And... oh, that's just too many, Bane. Well, click on the Planetary. Click on the don't... No, you come back here with those Banelings and click on that fucking Planetary. Okay, thank you. Don't be stingy now. That is how you lose. Like, trying to kill a Planetary, failing a couple times, and then suddenly... Percival's at 124 supply. The Zergling drop in the main. Drop over to the left side. Orbital under fire. But Percival has 30 more army supply distributed across the map. And he's leveraging it well. His army is 19 Widow Mines, 19 Marauders, 10 Marines, a few Ghosts mixed in there for that extra smooth and buttery flavor. So surprisingly, it actually tastes like salt. But that's just Terran in general. Well, 4 medevacs for significantly less than that units. But another Widow Mine. Another chunk of Zerglings. And SHIN is out of minerals, which is not great. I said, flexing my intellectual and our... Yep, that's it. Muscles. And articulation muscles. Yeah, those ones. No, Jimmy edited that out. I don't know. Abscond with it. No, that too. Orbital Command decides to skip leg day. We've all been there. Most days. SHIN still maintaining that massive economic lead. Time for some ultraless drop harass. There are also some Marines here. Why not? I did. Widow Mines. Widow Mines. 23 kills on the one we've been keeping track of. If this Widow Mine kills an Ultralisk Overlord, I'm going to be very upset. Are there ghosts in there? And Marauders. Did not expect the Ultra to pop out of that, to be fair. And... Two more command centers on the way. Percival's maxed out. SHIN also maxed out. With more money in the bank. Which you'd hope at this stage. 85 drones. I mean, if you do notice, he is using the portrait of the player ranked #1 in the world by Dark. Which is, of course, Dark. Coming back in just a couple months now. Oh, the Infestor! Fungal comes out! Still picks up the majority of the units. The Baneling count is so damn high. Just now getting a fusion core is Percival. He's been under so much pressure. But he seems to thrive under the idea. Infestor wanders into a missile turret, is taken out. There's another infestor, but does he see the worm sign?
Our forces are under attack.
Oh, shit. See what? See better. Meanwhile, the Ultras. Oh, whoa, that was bad. That was a bad one. 12 Overlords on the way. Yeah, it's that bad. Are there? Wow, that is problematic. 7 more SCVs dead, and this is it's continuing to trend fully in the direction of Percival, as SHIN just keeps exhausting all of his units to try to break this cinematic worth of commands. Oh, come the fuck on, bro. What is this? This is 8 command centers on one screen. No, sorry, I lied. It's 10 command centers on one screen. He's got, which is actually over doubling his current command center count. How many has he lost? 2? Wow, that... Huh. I don't know what I expected, but I think it was more than 2. Orbital's on the way. Wait, what? What? They can fit through there? Mm-mm. The more you know. Meanwhile, Lings and Ultras over to the right side. Another command center are going to be delayed. Thankfully, has several dozen more to fall back to. The Widowmons. Wait, do we still have the Hero Mon? 23. What do we got up here? 1, 6. Lining up some shots on the Ultras. Percival, he's up to 14 ghosts. There is an Infestor at the back. Most of the many of the Banelings. It's kind of hard to tell. The Corruptors are helping out. Huge Fungal! And oh, he got it! He did it! He got the Fungal, and with it, he may have just won the game. 13 goes dead. He called the right Ghostbusters. He knocks the Medivacs out of the sky, and, well, yep, he won the game. And also, there are Vipers here. That relief was comic out of, I'm sorry, one more time. What? Of all the things he could have done with those Vipers, that was certainly one of them. The ghosts, badly bruised, nearly dead. And SHIN is like, well, we gotta make use of these Vipers. I think that actually helped the ghost. It dies immediately. Well, and it goes from Percival clawing his way back to SHIN clawing his way through the entire base with one well-placed fungal. What? 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 You said fun, gal? Really, Brenda? I just heard you call. Percival, unwilling to believe this situation, as he still has 10 command centers. So, but he got caught between a rock and a fungal place. And he just dies there. Wow. Losing a laundry list of buildings. Another 1,000 Zerglings dead, another few hundred Banes. But SHIN this time is able to find that, putting the GG in fungal, as seems to be the defining move. Well, SHIN almost let that one go as Percival retreated back within his shell. And unfortunately got a little bit too overconfident. Poked his head out too far. And SHIN just chopped it off. Well, that brings us to game number 3. We were talking about patch. Gimme. Sorry. We were talking about patches. Patches patch. And also his map. This map made by him as well. I think our most beautiful of the new pool, though obviously that's subjective, with some very interesting features with the mixed gold bases and just the layout in general. We'll see. So far, 2 very similar games, to be honest. With the defining characteristic being Percival's tenacity or lack thereof. I do think that, honestly, Percival, if he had been doing worse, he would have maybe won the game. That sounds dumb and contradictory, but because he had been thriving for 5+ minutes and he finally got back to 200 supply, mass ghost, mass command center, he finally got complacent with the ghosts. And he lost 13 of them to a single roll of banelings and 1 fungal. So you can't do that. All right? You can't be doing that. That is pretty on the very short list of things you absolutely cannot do if you want to win the game. As effectively an uncomfortably high amount of late-game Terran versus Zerg matches are defined by whether or not the fungal lands before the Zerg quite literally runs out of money. And we've seen both sides of it so far in this exact series in just 2 games. So, we'll see if game number 3 has a little bit more variety. But thank you for spending already a pretty big chunk of your day with me, and hopefully it's been a little bit better. Definitely entertaining games, to say the least. Hey! Get off my Want to talk about it? No! Was very close to sniping off the Reaper, but close. Only counts in horseshoes and Widowmons. A Viking first. Wow. Really trying to obscure the build here is Percival. He went too heavily, and he's getting a Viking, and then he's going to go double medevac Marines, which is certainly one of the things you could do. The Viking is supposed to, well, 1, kill this Overlord, ideally before it scouts any further into the...
Time to raise your APM.
I think he's going to see it, though. He saw barracks floating, which he did not see.
They're
What's it?
attacking your base, you know.
He knows. The Viking is on patrol for all of the Overlord spots. In fact, he used the Reaper Hellion to scout for the Overlord placements, and then queued up the Viking perfectly to deal with it. Of course, the Queen's no plan survives contact with, but gonna be double Evo. SHIN going for the much more upgrade-focused ground-based strategy this time around. Viking driven away. Stim about to complete. And does he have the medevac? Where are the medevacs? Percival! This is a medevac build. Well, it's coming together. We'll get there. And we use supply block with it. It is a medevac build. It's not a perfect medevac build. I will say, both these two players clearly... That's both the blessing and a curse. Any of these two players playing the way they are right now would have been competitive as world champions 10 years ago. But you compare them with Cyril and Clem, and, well, there's always a bigger fish. I think that does make it more interesting and unpredictable most of the time. Because it does just get more... And that's why Brood War... Those who, that's why I think Brood War is still so interesting. And why there's so much room for variety. It's because, very simply, even if you're willing to give yourself carpal tunnel at the age of 19, trying to get your SCVs to mine reliably, you simply can't be perfect. You simply cannot be perfect mechanically at Brood War. Whereas you can get a lot closer at SC2. Very simply because your SCVs will go mine on their own. That's... How much APM does it take to just build units and get your workers going in the right direction in Brood War? More than a normal human is capable of. And even abnormal humans are reliably able to do. But we're putting the strategy instead of the real time here in StarCraft 2, even though some might argue, especially those not on the ladder, that real time is still such a huge part of it. And indeed it is. And the time is running out for 2 queens. As the siege tanks are backing up the Marines. A few more Zerglings are driven away. The tanks, great target fire. Unfortunately, the Banelings get a little bit close. He abandons the siege tanks for the most part. Reinforcements, only a single Baneling survives. I mean, they're not supposed to survive, but... being taken out before they can close the distance is obviously not ideal life goals. Banelings rallied into the third, which is certainly, in Baneling speed, not done yet, which is an awkward timing, certainly, for SHIN. The Baneling's trying to stay close to the siege tank, but he target fires easily. Okay. The Banelings in the mineral line eventually find some targets, but Percival continuing. Will push forward. 1-1 is done for SHIN. The Queen's holding the back line. The reinforcements are on the way across. Percival has the worker lead. More medevacs picked up, but the siege tank is still going. Adding so much damage. But I think SHIN will eventually overwhelm this. Especially since there's no more energy on the medevacs that still have any life. Percival continuing across the map. Dragon Claws on the way, and Hydras with the choice for the first time. 4th command center. A lot of surface area. I think he's going to have to cancel it. Percival agrees. Gets those 225 minerals back. Yeah, 300 minerals for that now. Good target fire, and then picks up into the medevacs. And now... Well, SHIN survives. He's got Hydras on the way. Percival, though, with a supply lead, he's already got +2 infantry weapons started, +2 infantry armor in production. Overall, Percival in a strong position, but Hydras, if he's not prepared, Hydras can definitely turn the tides. Hydras are... Well, there goes a bunch of Banes. Great target fire there. Another pickup. The creep spread. Being driven back yet again. Marines off to the right side, all but 1 or 2. Another wave of drones for SHIN, who losing drones and continually having to rebuild. The Liberator racks up some kills. Sporecrawler not quite in place for it, and jams the Marines into the corner between the minerals and the edge. No more high ground vision. The Banelings eventually close in. Medevac taken down, Liberator knocked out, but another dozen drones dead. The Hive still a distant dream for SHIN. The Widow Mine in place, denying an additional base. Slamming every Zerg unit nearby directly in the face. And we'll see who else wants a taste. Widow Mine's being chased. Planetary down the center, orbital to the south. So, oh, the rocks were... So you could take down these rocks. I think SHIN finally did it. I don't think anyone... I've seen anyone do that on purpose. They destroy 3 out of the 9 mineral patches. Yes, this is actually a more lucrative base than most. Not just because of the gold, but because there are 9 mineral patches. But if you destroy the cooling tower, it actually breaks 3 of the blue mineral patches, making it just a pretty good base. But I see almost no one do that. It's something you could do preemptively on your opponent's side of the map, especially if you're quite confident you're never going to be mining from there. I really think more players should just be putting a few Zerglings on it from the very start. But I'm surprised Percival didn't take well. It's a little bit less likely with Terran in the early game, but the Widowmans thinning things out, and the Hydra is going to be found without nearly enough Zerglings in front. Percival still leaning on the Marines and the Marauders, the Mines and the Tanks. The Medevacs as well, the M. Jimmy, edit that out. And both sides thinning out. 2-2 upgrades completed, but Percival has 3-3 in production. Medevacs knocked out over to the right. The siege tank regretting sieging up. Will spend the rest of its life there. Ghosts already on the way, and Percival about even... Oh no, the Widow Mines are recharging. Feels like the story of the game here. Softening up even more. The Queens starts the Overseer. This time around, the Fusion Core is already on the way. That tier 3 tech. A very strong option. And Percival, instead of a desperation move, it's just the next step on the ladder here. As SHIN has been scraping together the defense, and he has a supply lead for maybe the first time in quite a while, if not the entire game. But Percival not gonna let him sit back and relax. Anything but, as the Liberators are encroaching. The siege tanks are getting close. The double siege, making things difficult. The Zergling counter. He doesn't have Adrenal Glands because he doesn't even have a Hive done yet. The Ghost, where he's actually just lighting up some shots on the Hydras. The Banelings close in and knock out a few of the Marines, and he gutted an entire mineral line. Meanwhile, closing in from both sides, picks off the Liberators from the back, and Percival buddy off more than he could chew, and the Zerglings will chew him up for it. Percival loses 30-40 supply, and counting as another medevac knocked into the water. Washed out of the game. A command center taken down, and Percival, his entire advantage is almost completely gone. He just lost, wow, 19 SCVs, a laundry list of units. Percival killed 2 ghosts, SHIN killed 3. Widowmines are, well, they hate anything that's not Widowmines. The mules will drop and cut into the income mountain that SHIN has been able to carve out. The ghosts continue. Percival still has a very strong position and a strong army, especially considering the 3-3 upgrades. Especially considering the 3-3. I gotta say it twice. Needs extra consideration. Now that you've considered it, though. Three more command centers, which does seem a little optimistic. He's building 6 SCVs at a time as well. Widowmine, huge bite. Fusion core out in front. Actually could be picked off. That'd be a... Well, Percival might actually find himself back behind on tech because he chose to build the fusion core in the middle of the map. Meanwhile, a single drop gets into the main. Now he realizes he rebuilds the fusion core, this time in a more pragmatic location. Viper's on the way. Shin may be realizing that Viper's a little stronger than he gave him credit for. They can abduct ghosts 2 feet and so much more. Yes, I know ghosts have 2 feet, but that's unrelated. That you know of. More feet-related facts on my Dronely fans. The ghosts just holding their ground. The Hydras lunge away, intimidated by the ghost's strong posture, and also, I guess, arguably their guns. Widowmine from the grave. SCV's on the run. Is it planetary overwhelmed? The Banelings will melt through it. But another command center is ready to go. Changelings taken out, though one in the mineral line will manage to evade. Lunges forward, takes out the siege tank. Ghost lining up a couple shots. Command center canceled. The creep spread is almost non-existent, despite Shin's 620 average APM. He's just trying to... He's treading water at the moment. He needs to drown Percival in a tide of Banelings and Zerglings. The change... Jacked up and good to go, right, boys? Ugh, why are you so intense? I don't know. The Changelings staring down some of the Marines. The Vipers. So Blinding Cloud doesn't work against Snipe, but it does work against the auto attack. And abducting the Medivacs could be a premium move. One ghost surrounded and killed. The Banelings rolling through. The door is open. The Vipers, well... A Blinding Cloud... The Mass Overseer. Another command center taken out. He did lose 2 Vipers. One does survive somehow. Still, Shin destroying 6 ghosts. A winning fight. He's got 103 drones. That's actually too many drones. Like, that's too many drones. But for now, if he's able to just refill, play the 300 supplies Zerg. Does he have adrenal glands? Shit! You know the answer. 500 Zerglings. He hasn't lost a single building. Just actually kind of crazy, but... No adrenal glands. Which, again... very much could define this game. He's now mining from what most might consider Percival's side of the map. The Chew Toy Depot's doing their job here. Exactly 100 drones. And that's where he seems to be sticking for now. A few more spines and spores coming up. The double sensor tower is Percival just getting whatever he can. Scrambling. Command center count. Only 4 orbital commands, which is certainly on the lower side, especially for this stage of the game. More Chew Toys. Getting locked into this middle base. A very lucrative one. EMP on the Overseers. Ghost retreating back. There's a planetary backstop here. Ghost on either side. The planetary holding its ground. Oh no. Widowmine slamming in. Snipes coming out and Shin backing off. As that did not go well. And he doesn't have that much army supply to work with. With 99 drones, you really rely on the refill. Does he have an Ultralisk cavern? No. The hatchery is taken down. I think he consumed part of it. An assist from the Vipers. Comes in again for another hatch. Takes it out. Targets some bang. Get over here! Meanwhile, another command center waiting for its opportunity. Shin finally investing in that greater spire. A Widow Mine just takes out most of the banelings. Of course, the Ghosts out in front. The Liberator sieging up the Vipers. Coming out trying to yank some of them out of siege mode. Succeed. Planetary Fortress optimistic, but the Liberators... The Hydras are just not getting it done. Hydra's getting stuck on dealing with the Liberators. And they have not been very much dealt with. Corruptor's on the way, a more reliable sort of option. Meanwhile, Percival expands over to the 3 o'clock. And the Ghost caught again. How many Ghosts have gone down? Take a guess. I'm going to say 33? 18. Wow, it always feels worse than it is. They yell enough for 2 Ghosts. Right? Not that Jimmy. So much editing today. No, you're not getting paid. But they die for 2. Only 2 supply now, though, so. His army composition, 14 Ghosts, 22 Marines, few medevacs, few mines, few Liberators scattered in there. The Viper. Corruptor's looking to knock out the Liberators. Will do so successfully. Widow Mine's thinning out a whole lot of the Zerglings, but that means the Banelings are still looking pretty good behind. Blinding Cloud. The Ghost fully retreating back. Another siege tank to retreat to. Knocks out a few more medevacs. Lines up the shots. The Viper overstaying its welcome. It wasn't welcome at all. It wasn't hard to do, but... Continuing forward. And the Ghost... A refill in the... Is there any larva? He's out of larva! He can't refill! That's kind of the important part of all this with 97 drones. He cloaks the Ghost at the last second before the Banelings close in. And, oh, sweet mother of mercy. There's 2 infestors on the way. As either you get the fungal or you don't. That's where we are. It's where we live. Or die, really, depending. Holding the line. Percival on the back here, but without the infestors, the Banelings on the open field off a creep, forget about it. The Overseer. And then he loses every Overseer. He dug so deep. And so, oh, the infestors are here now. But who's here to help them? Is he even going to get supply blocked? He could cloak the Ghosts. There's no detection. There are fungals, which does help, but you need Banelings. Oh, it's a disaster. He comes in for another round. This is just this. No, I've seen this before. I've seen it in my own gameplay. This is desperation from SHIN. He's just done. He knows this isn't going to work, but he's going to just throw it in there anyways because he's sick of it. Like... In the last minute, he's killed off 2 Ghosts. But he's lost the Hydras, the corrupt... Well, it's been costly, but the trade... Any trade here... Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw it. That's every Zerg. Well, by the time the Banelings come in and don't quite kill the Ghosts... Yeah. Every Zerg has been there. Yes, even Cyril. He just doesn't show it that often, unless you watch his stream, in which case... SHIN. GGGGGGGGGG. Percival claims 2. And he defeats SHIN. 2-1. Embracing the new age of Terran. From within his shell, he pokes out occasionally with a sniper rifle. And, to burrow a Widowmon. And make sure that even with 8 hatcheries, it's not nearly enough. Percival survives and thrives and claims the whole series 2-1. Like how blatant it is from SHIN. And mistakes were made by both sides. But, can be quite frustrating, especially from the Zerg perspective. Maybe it's biased. I think it's just realistic for those of us who are more mortal than a certain Finnish player. But thank you for watching. certainly hope you enjoyed. I hope I made a pretty big chunk of your day, at least a little bit better. And if you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon, YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing. It's still free, at least for now. Thank you to our top tier patrons: Big Jig, Decro, Devin, Door, Mag1, Mario, P, Sasquatch. Also YouTube members, that top tier. Should probably put that on there. So, but anyways, make sure to check out this video. Jimmy picked it out just for you. And I hope to see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Thank you for watching. Stay chill.